Alrighty, folks, we are back with the original millionaire who's been talking with one rental at a time now for I think almost 4 years. Anna Kelly, how you doing, Anna?
I'm doing great. And you know what, Michael? It's almost 5 years now.
My God,
I was thinking about that this morning. I went, you know what? I think we started around November or December of 2018 because I was getting ready to retire.
five. It's been amazing. I
It's
love
been
speaking with
fun.
you each week. It's been a lot of fun. I want to go back to an old concept because, as the real estate market prices are high, interest rates are high, although going lower. I'm starting to see some very interesting headlines about organizations sort of pushing the idea that you should buy alligators. And of course, you and I talked about alligators. It's the only picture in my first book, Negative Cash Flow. And the idea is if you could buy alligators and you could afford it, they will make you 5 times richer. So let's dig into the idea of buying alligators making you richer and see what the one and only Anna Kelly feels about that idea.
So I had two first thoughts. One was I absolutely disagree from experience. I absolutely disagree. The second thought was if you're at the bottom, low prices and low interest rates, and you want to buy some alligator fixer uppers, then at the
Yeah.
bottom of a cycle, when you have many years of a run rate to expand and grow appreciation naturally along with force, then yes, that's how I made a lot of money. But we're not at the bottom. We're
We're
at peak
not at the
prices and
bottom.
peak interest rates. So if they're telling you that now, I say run.
Yeah.
Run.
Run.
It's not the right time. If you're gonna do it, it's not the right time. That those are my first two thoughts. What do you think?
So I think it's even worse than that. Because again, when I see a headline that it's people pushing education or trying to sell you stuff, just trying to get transactions up, and it's so detrimental, right? In my first book, I document a senior executive who bought this story hook, line, and sinker after Katrina. After Katrina, you may remember this, but they had some special um, tax savings if you would buy brand new homes in Louisiana.
Yes.
My friend bought 4 of these. He showed me his whiteboard and was proud to tell me each property would be negative $250 a month or $1,000. And again, senior executive could clearly afford it and was proud of it. Guess what happened? Fast forward a couple of years, the market takes a dump, everything's lower. He can still afford it, but now he's upside down, I don't know, 75K a property, and he lets them go. Senior executive, 6-figure income, 7-figure net worth, probably had an 800 credit score, and let all 4 properties go because they were alligators. If they were positive cash flow, I guarantee you he would have kept them.
Yeah.
But since they were so, it's just, and then the other thing, I know for certain people pushing this idea of buying alligators to make you 5 times richer are talking to people of high income in the Silicon Valley, buying in expensive markets. I could not imagine a worse idea. Oh, let's go buy $1 million property. It's negative cash flow, $900, and it always goes up. No, 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 no. It doesn't always go up. What happens if tech sector leaves the Bay Area and goes to Austin? Or this is such a bad idea. I can't. It's so self-serving. Oh, it's so bad, Anna. It's so bad. It's so bad.
I agree. I agree. And you know what happens? I think I mentioned this very briefly on one of our prior episodes, but what happens is when we start to get really a lot of pain in the economy and pain in real estate, coaches come out of the woodwork that have only been doing real estate for a couple of years because they need money. And so
They
they
need
develop
money.
a course and they tell you what's going to sell their course. And, I'm a coach, you're a coach, right? But we've been
Yeah.
doing this for a long time. I actually paused my mastermind in part this year because most of the people that wanted to renew were newbies that had
Mm.
very little cash. And I
Yeah.
knew that the cost of my mastermind was going to leave them less cash than they could even put as a down payment on a
Right.
house unless they house hacked. And so just for my own sense of integrity, I felt like I can't tell people who don't have very much money, you're going to make a lot of money in real estate this year because I know it's harder this year, right? Now I
No
still
question.
coach one-on-one and I have these conversations as do you, and there's a right way to make money, but buying alligators is not. And especially buying alligators in that $1 million range. Part of the
Yeah.
problem is when you have pain in the economy and pain in real estate, you price out anyone who can really afford, those $1 million homes. A lot less people will do it, even if they can afford it, because the interest rates are so high. So the first homes that take a hit in terms of value are the $1 million homes. It's not,
Exactly.
the ones that have stable values and in some markets have even gone up despite interest rates are those in the, average family priced home, an average income home in the 2 to 400,000 range, depending on your market. Those have been pretty stable, but that upper end home, they're the ones that the values are coming down.
Yeah.
California specifically, values went up pretty high, and they're the ones that have had a bigger dip in values because the markets that tend to appreciate the most tend to start to deflate the most when you have some softening. So I think on multiple fronts, to your point, telling them to focus on high-end properties in areas that supposedly always appreciate. When you're in a cycle that peaks, you are going to have a few years where values
Yeah.
come down, and it's going to take, on average, an average peak to peak and trough to trough over the last several decades is about 5.5 to 7 years. But
Mhm.
our last expansion was 12 years plus, right? And so it can be a long time. If you're buying at the peak now and you don't cash flow and you think that values are going to keep going up, they're going to come down for a couple years, likely, at least
Mhm.
some,
Even
before
if
they
they're
get to
flat
that
though,
time.
even if they're
Well,
flat.
right, right. Then you're buying something that you know is going to be negative for 5 to 10 years, and then you hope for appreciation. You can't hope for appreciation. You've got to buy in areas that you know are undersupplied. They're gonna appreciate over time. But really, if you're not cash flowing or at least breaking even on the property, then you're basically you're investing on hopium. And if you don't have the skills to put money into it to fix it up and make it worth more money and sell it right away instead of holding it, you're going to hurt yourself. And
Yeah.
Michael, you and I have learned this the hard way, right?
Mhm.
We bought alligators like you
Yeah.
talked about in the book. I
Mhm.
shifted from class B markets to class C markets, lower end properties that I could buy dirt cheap because I was like, I'm going to cash flow. At least I was still cash flowing on those. But even alligator properties that I bought in lower income markets because I thought the income was going to be higher, on
Mhm.
paper, they're higher, but buying that type of property, which I would call an alligator too, you're going to
Yeah.
have a lot more turnover and they're going to damage the property. So you're going to have to paint every year. If the economy struggles, they'll just skip and move in with relatives, and they don't care if they lose their deposit, but it's still not enough to fix up the repairs.
Mhm.
They're behind on rent all the time. You're chasing them. There's more maintenance. Like, I've lived through properties that actually cash flow end up being negative by a lot for a long time. So I got out of those kind of alligator
Yeah.
properties and alligator markets, and I buy properties that are a little more expensive, that cash flow a little less on paper, but I
Mhm.
actually perform better than my pro formas because I have good properties in good area with good tenant flow. So even in good times, I wouldn't buy
Yeah.
an alligator property anymore. Yeah, I just think
Yeah.
that that advice, wherever it's coming from, is terrible, terrible. Um, Again, if we hit a bottom, like real estate values
Yeah.
crashed like they did in '09, and I don't think they're going to, which we've talked about on the show. But if real estate values really came down, let's say 30%, then if you want to buy some properties that need some lipstick on the pig,
Right.
so they're ugly, they need a lot of work, and interest rates are low again, knock yourself out because there's going to be a lot of buyers, both investors and homeowners, trying to buy those homes once they're fixed up. But again, that's a strategy for a very specific economy when you have a lot of upside to go, not when you're not yet at the bottom.
Yeah. There's just, I mean, I can imagine this is because this story has to come with an Excel spreadsheet. It just has to, right?
Sure.
Let me show you how you could buy $1 million property, be a negative $1,000, and let me, 5% appreciation for the next decade, and you're going to be 5x richer. There should be a caveat if you don't lose the property, if you don't go bankrupt. I mean,
Right.
I can't fathom somebody who has more than a year of experience, like, especially if you went through the last cycle like you and I did. If you're
Yeah.
gonna tell somebody, like they told my friend, buy an alligator on purpose and, you're going to be a lot. I mean, this is such bad. I mean, and you're going to see
Right.
some newbie engineers and computer scientists go, "Hey, I can't buy cash flow. I'm trying to do what Anna and Michael tell me. Nothing works. Hey, this other guy tells me to buy negative cash flow. Cool. Everything's negative cash flow. So I'm going to go buy one of those and I'm going to be 5x richer." No, you're probably going to
Oh my
lose the
gosh.
property.
So, if you just put on basic, like, critical thinking, right? Why would I buy anything today that's going to take money out of my pocket when I can park my money in a CD at 5%?
Thank you.
Like,
Thank,
why
thank you.
would you do that? I don't even need the appreciation. I've got 5% until I find deals that I'm buying below market value that are going to cash flow and going to appreciate. It just doesn't make sense. You can't buy on hopium that something goes up in value. You buy on fundamentals of where can I get the best return, a sure return today, right? And save money and build up reserves to buy more things that are going to appreciate later. So generally speaking, if you need income, you don't buy negative value. If you want a tax deduction, but you're okay with losing money every year, you might as well buy vacation rentals that you can live in and rent out just a little
Something.
bit, get the tax deduction and enjoy yourself. But don't listen to these people that tell you to buy alligator properties today. It is a very unwise decision.
Yeah. I mean, it might be some of the worst advice I've ever heard, frankly. And I've heard a lot of
Yeah.
crazy advice these years. But we're not going to dwell on that too much because we both agree it's a bad idea. And I would tell you never even to refi and create an alligator. That's how bad I feel about alligators. It's just not a good idea. Anna, where can people find you?
Great. You can find me here on your channel, social media, Anna Kelly, REI Mom, and my website for coaching and consulting is AnnaKellyInvesting.com.
Thank you so much.